Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlotte and today we are going to go over my September wrap up and October TBR. I read a few books, as you do in September, and we're going to start with that one. We're just going to start on that end and just work our way through. I'm going to jump straight on into it. First book, The Perfect Marriage. It is a psychological suspense. I'm not going to give you much. But it says on the cover, his mistress is dead, his wife is his only hope. So Sarah Morgan is married to Adam Morgan. Sarah is a high-profile attorney and Adam is a not so high-profile writer. He is not happy in his life, or at least in his mind, he has convinced himself that, Sarah is kind of surpassing him. So he takes on a mistress and, the mistress, accidentally dies. You get to follow along on the journey to figure out, did he do it? No. Did he do it? Did somebody else do it? Like, what was the motive? Like, everything just wraps up in one package. Or at least you would think so. It has a few plot holes, but if you ignore them, it's a good book. It is. I enjoyed it. It didn't give me that feeling of, I absolutely want to read more. Like, putting the book down to go to bed wasn't a problem for me, but it was an okay read. I give it a 3 stars. It's fine. You kind of need to ignore some of the plot holes, but at the end of the day, it was okay. It was my first psychological suspense in ever, so it was a nice, easy trip into that category again, and it made me want to read more at least. So 3 stars. The next one is the Windy City series. This one is called The Right Move. It's by Liz Tomford, and here you meet Ryan, who plays basketball. I always mix him up. He is, of course, the captain, because what's the romance with that? The captain. And it's about Indy. Indy is his twin sister's best friend. His twin sister is Stevie from Mile High, but they are interconnected standalones. You do not need to read one to read the other. But if you are interested in reading the entire series, I would recommend reading them in order, because you do meet you get Stevie's story in the first one. It spoils more if you read this one first. But yeah, Ryan and Indy, this is roommates, fake dating, finding yourself, understanding yourself, and Ryan's inner monologue is hysterical. Like, he had me laughing out loud several times, and I enjoyed this so much. I think Indy is amazing. I think Ryan is super funny. He's very shy, like drawn back, not really out there searching for anything, and she's like the complete opposite. She's like here, there, and freaking everywhere. She really knows how to work a room. I loved it. The only reason this one isn't a 5-star for me is it didn't give me that book high. Like, when I was done reading the book, I felt content. I was happy with it. I didn't sit there and go, oh my god, I need to know more about these people. I need to know more about them. So it's a 4.75. 4.75. It's a super good book. I would recommend reading it. This is like one of the few books, this and Mile High, one of the few books I can actually see myself rereading in a few years, because usually when I read them once, I'm not that intrigued to read them again because I already know what happens. But so far, the Windy City series is like a series I think I would actually want to read again. So 4.75 goes in the pile with the other one. Then we have this one. If you don't know what this is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, and it's the second book in the A Court of Thorn and Roses series, or ACOTAR, as it's mostly known as on the internet. You still follow Feyre. You see everything from Feyre's point of view. I forgot to say that about the 2 other ones. Even the Perfect Marriage and The Right Move, they are both dual POV. But yeah, here you only follow, I think there's like 1 chapter, 2 chapters that's by somebody else, but you 98% of the book you follow Feyre and her journey into this new world that she now has joined at the end of the first book. And you get to see the Night Court. You get to see more of Spring Court you see in the first one. You get to see more of them. You get to see more of, most of the characters, actually. You also get to meet a few new characters. Yeah, you also get to meet a few new characters in this one. This one has an amazing feeling of found family. The found family in this book is amazing. And I think that's what drew me in, because I loved this one. What possessed me to pick this up when I really didn't like the first one? God only knows, but I had a feeling that I just had to read this one because I didn't understand the hype. And I was like, if I read one more and I still don't like it, at least I've given it a fair shot. It was like, let's just do an experiment. And we're like, oh, what was a 620-page experiment? Like, what's that, you know? The audiobook was 23 hours. I'm like, it's a day, it's fine. But I did really enjoy it, so I did finish everything. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I really didn't enjoy the first book. I can't, in good faith, recommend you a book. You have to read a different book that I didn't enjoy to enjoy this one. The ending had me shocked. I was ready to dive into book 3. Usually I need a break in my series, but apparently not that one. But I did take a break anyway because I went on to this one. A novel love story by, what's her name, Ashley Poston? Yeah, I didn't like it. I don't really know what to say. This is about Eileen. The only thing I liked in this one was her best friend kept on singing Come on Eileen when she wanted her to do something because Eileen hated the song, and I thought that to be very funny, but otherwise I didn't really like it. But like I said, it's about Eileen. Eileen is going on her annual book retreat weekend with her book club, but everybody ends up cancelling for legit reasons, but she decides to go on the trip alone. When she's on the trip, her car breaks down, she ends up in an unfamiliar town. Turns out she wakes up in her favorite book's town. So you get to meet all the characters that she loves from these books, and she knows everything about them because she rereads this book. These books, it's like her Bible. I didn't know the characters though. I didn't feel connected to them, and I thought it was kind of weird. It felt almost a little manipulative because she took the things she already knew about them and kind of applied them to make them like her or to help them. And yeah, I don't really know. It didn't take long for her to get invited to a girls' night, and I was like, I would imagine moving to it, like just visiting a new town, living at the, I don't know, Holiday Inn, and getting invited out for girls' night by people you met 2 days ago. Could never be me. But anyways, yeah, I almost DNF'd this one. I almost DNF'd it, and one of my besties, hi Em, she was like, if you want to DNF it, just call me, because she finished it and she would tell me the ending. And I was like, no, I'm gonna finish it. I'm going to. So I finished it as an audiobook when I was out doing my errands, and I think I said it's a 2.5, but it's more like a 2. I wouldn't, in good faith, recommend this book to anyone, and if somebody came home to me and they were like, I really want to read that book, I would give them my copy. I wouldn't even ask for it back, which is sad, because I've heard that The 7 Year Slip from Her, for instance, is amazing. So maybe I just wasn't lucky with my first Ashley Poston book. Maybe I should try a different one. Then I read Collide, and it says on Collide, if you love The Deal and Icebreaker, you'll love this. And I haven't read Icebreaker or Collide. No, I read Collide. I didn't read The Deal or Icebreaker. That was my point. This one is about summer, and it's about Aiden, and of course you know it, Aiden is the captain of the hockey team, and he loves hockey, and she hates it with a passion, like with a burning passion. Like, she's like, oh my god, you're so nice, and they're like, yeah, I play hockey. She's like, no, never mind, you suck. She hates it. And then when I say with a burning passion, I mean it. She hates it with a burning passion. You do get to know why though throughout the book. I didn't find her that likable because she's very grumpy, she's very reserved, which is fine. Which, I mean, it's fine. But I felt like he was written as more the likable character, which is also completely fine with me. Something happens at the start of the book, so they have to work together, and I was like, oh, this is going to be part of the plot. Part of the plot is going to be them working together, which it was. But the plot quickly ran away and forgot to come back. It literally forgot to come back. The plot, it's fairly thick. It's there briefly, I would say. This is more a story of two people falling in love than about the drama that's happening around them. But I do have a reading vlog out about it, so if you want to see more about it, if you want to hear more about it, you can go watch the reading vlog on this one. I did give it a 4-star, 4.225 for a 4-star. Well, now I'm giving it a 4-star. It's 4 stars, it's fun, it's easy. Aiden was amazing. It's grumpy sunshine. It's kind of enemies to lovers. It's also found family in a way. So yeah, 4 stars. I enjoyed it. So why not if you like a good sports romance where you get to read about the hockey captain? Because what's a book without a captain? I'm asking, that's a serious question. Yeah. Then I went over to this one. I was like, it's time. I need to know what's going to happen. And the first part of this book had me hooked. I was invested. I needed to know everything. One of my favorite characters is Tampon's best friend. I wish, like, you know, I wish we got to see more of him. But once again, I just felt like his presence was... he was there, but I don't really know why, which made me very sad. This book is also very long, and I felt like a lot of the waiting you did in the first book just kept on being in this one. I didn't really feel that the story had this much progress, but I know people will fight me on this. I know people love this with their whole entire heart and being, so people will fight me on this. At some point, I was just over it, okay? You're building up for something to happen, and I hoped that that was going to be a good part of the book, but it wasn't. So when the end of the book came, and, you know, what you're building towards through book 2 and through most of this book, when it finally happened, I wasn't invested anymore. I was over it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And I am a frequent crier. When I read 1,000 Boy Kisses, I was 17 pages in when I started crying, and I think I cried every time I picked up that book. So I'm a crier, and something happens in this book that I know because I was warned that this book could make me cry. And something happens in this book, and I do understand why people cried, but at that point I just didn't care anymore. I wasn't invested in this story anymore. I wasn't invested in her. I wasn't invested in him. I wasn't invested in their friends. I didn't give a fly. I didn't give, which is sad. I did enjoy most of it. It was too long for me. I think that was the thing. I think this one was too big of a thick boy. So yeah, and that's not good for me, because I have several books that are this size that I haven't read yet, like Quicksilver or Keeping in Binding 13. They are also thick boys. I forgot to give this a star rating. It's a 3.75. But I just wasn't into it anymore. So what are you going to do about it? You can't do anything about it because I already read it. Then, in between all of my, I want to say misery, I read all of these. This is the Heartstopper series. It's about Nick and Charlie, and if you haven't read their story yet, even if you watch the Netflix show, I would highly recommend reading these. I mean, I read one in a day, but you can understand why. It is a comic, basically, or now, as they are called, a graphic novel. And watching them fall in love, watching them with their struggles, the way they take care of each other, it's just so nice. And I highly recommend it. I love this one. I love it. 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 I didn't grade them. The graphic novels, it feels like you have not that much material, like all of them combined. It's like a 5-star one, but I don't feel like I have enough information in one of them to give them a star rating. But yeah, this was like my palate cleanser. Nick and Charlie will forever be in my heart, okay? And I love them. That's everything I read in September. So I read 6 books and 4 graphic novels. Then we're gonna do my October TBR, because why not? Why not? Why not? Just go jump straight on into it, you know? First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna read the entire Maple Hill series. This is Icebreaker, it's Wildfire, and it's Daydream. Daydream came out like a few weeks ago. So this is fairly fresh, but I mean, Icebreaker, you have 155% seen on your TikTok For You page if you are near BookTok. Kind of made me intrigued to read it, especially because I liked Collide. So I was like, I'm gonna try the Maple Hill series. I have to be honest with you guys, at this point, I have read this one. We're not gonna talk that much about it though, because I am making a reading log on all of them. This one is about Anastasia and Nate. Anastasia is a figure skater, and Nate is, of course, the captain of the hockey team, because why wouldn't you be? Something happens, so they have to share an ice rink, and they kind of get forced together. It's a little bit Grumpy Sunshine, it's a little bit Found Family, it's a typical sports romance set in college type of vibes. Not going to say that much more about it. I mean, most people probably have read this. I'm probably the last one in this world to read it. And then we have Wildfire. This one is about Ross, and it is about Aurora, or Rory as they call her in the book. And I have to be honest with you, I had to Google who Ross was because I couldn't remember him from the first books, but they are interconnected standalones. So the people you meet in these 2 books, you have already seen them in one of them or both of the series, at least one of the characters. And I can tell you this much, it's the boys. You do meet Ross in the first one, and you do meet Henry, which is this one is about in the first book, and you meet him in this one, I'm guessing. But yeah, this is about Ross and Aurora. They have a one-night stand. She runs away, and then before, you know, he gets to ask for her number or her last name, she's gone. But they accidentally meet up again at summer camp. And that is where this story unfolds. It's through summer, it's over summer. I'm very excited to read this one. 2 reasons. One, I know it's the one people hate the most, and I have a tendency to like stuff that other people dislike. And I don't know, we don't have summer camp, so I'm drawn to it, okay? Then we have Daydream. Daydream is about Henry and Hal, and this is academia to lover. From what I understand on the internet, and from what I understand from the author, a lot of people, if you are neurodivergent, will see themselves in Henry, so this is the one I'm most anticipated to read. Actually, I take it back. I said this one is the one I'm most anticipated to read. It's this one, because as an ADHD girly who got diagnosed sadly very late in life and had the struggles of going through school and all of that undiagnosed and everything that is around it, this one really intrigues me, to see it in written form, to see myself in these struggles. I do also understand that throughout the book he does go undiagnosed, so have that in the back of your mind. But yeah, it's about Henry, as I said, and about Hal, and it's academia to lover. This one also has the found family, and I already know because I've read the back of it, Henry does become captain. So maybe Ross is the only one that's not the captain. But yeah, they're interconnected standalone, so you can read one without reading the other ones. But this, like I said, I would recommend reading them in order if you want to read all of them. I also want to try Twisted Love. I've heard that this is like an intro to dark romance. It's not heavy in the way that, you know, Hunting and Haunting Adeline is, but it's a good way to see if you like that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna do it. It's about Alex and it's about Ava, and he is her brother's best friend. I think they trauma bond. That's basically what I got from the back of it. It feels like they trauma bond, and if their secrets get out, like, will they survive it? That's kind of what I got from it. But yeah, I think he's a bad boy, and not in a good way. Yeah, I think he's a bad boy, but not in a good way. Maybe he's a bad boy for her, but she's a good girl for him. So there is a love that was never supposed to, theirs is a love that was never supposed to happen, but when it does, it unleashes secrets that could destroy them both and everything they hold dear. So trauma bond. I'm here for it. Let's trauma bond. The Perfect Son by Frida McFadden. One of the two. Not really sure. Not going to give you much about this one either, because this is a psychological thriller, psychological suspense, but I heard amazing stuff about her writing. Very excited to read this one. This is also the book club book of the month for us. So I'm not going to say that much, but I think from what I gather, this is about the people you love and the lengths you are willing to go for them. Don't want to spoil it for anyone. I'm not going to say much more. If you want to read more about it, you know, check it on your local bookstore's website or Goodreads, wherever you find your books. I'm excited to read it, and we're talking about McFadden. I have a feeling that if I like this one, I'm also going to just go straight out and get the newest book from her, which is The Boyfriend, because I've heard people rave about that one as well. And I also kind of want to see if I can finish the Windy City series, because I feel like I need to finish my series. This one is about Kai. Kai is a single dad and he plays baseball, and it's about Miller, and Miller is a pastry chef. I have a feeling that this is like a work romance, because I think she probably works for the team and they're not allowed to hook up. So I have a feeling this is a work romance in a way. But yeah, he plays baseball and she is a pastry chef, and I think she drags him out of his shell. From what I understand, you do meet Kai in the second book in The Right Move, and he seems kind of not uptight but guarded, so he would probably come off as a little bit uptight, but I think he's just mostly guarded. And I know this is people's least favorite one so far. The internet has told me it's their least favorite one, but I'm very excited to read it. The next one is about Kennedy and Isaiah, and from what I gather, Isaiah is Kai's brother. They play on the same baseball team. I wonder which one is the captain. I don't really know. He wakes up in Sin City with Kennedy, and they accidentally did like Ross and Rachel did in Friends and got married. I didn't know you could do that. Is that really a thing in America? Because I mean, here you need a marriage license. Like, we can't just go to City Hall and get married. Like, you need paperwork to do all this shit. I didn't know you accidentally could really get married in Las Vegas, and it was like legit. But apparently you can. At least according to Play Along. I think this one in The Right Move is up there for a lot of people. People love it. I'm very excited to read this one as well. This is fake dating, fake marriage, marriage of convenience. It's just marriage. I like marriage. I'm engaged. So yeah, that's what we're going for. And the 5th book is coming out next year, so I definitely want to finish the series. So I'm ready to read about Rio, who you meet in the first 2 books, and I adore him. I also kind of want to read Funny Story by Emily Henry. Funny Story is about Daphne, and Daphne is together with Peter. Well, I think they're engaged, actually. I think they're engaged. But Peter then decides that he is in love with his childhood best friend, Petra, and Petra also decides that she's in love with him, so she dumps Miles. So Petra and Peter are now together. Daphne and Miles are dumped and single and sad. Daphne and Miller decide to move in together because that's the most logical thing to do in this situation. And that's all I know about this book. It's supposed to be a funny story. I'm very excited to read a very funny story, and if it's not funny, I'm going to be very mad. I'm just putting it out there. It will be my first Emily Henry book. The only reason I picked this one and I didn't pick any of the other ones is because when I was at the store trying to figure out which Emily Henry book I wanted to read, this had the highest rating on Goodreads. So I figured it was a good place to start. I've also had people say that it's more of like a spring-summer book, so if it really feels like a spring and summer book, I will soft DNF it and put it up. Read it again when spring or summer arrives, because spring has a tendency to skip us. Sally Sally Rooney, okay? I do not know how to pronounce this. Intermezzo, I think that, yeah. This is her newest book. I haven't read a single one of her book, but I've heard so much about her writing. I'm so excited to read it. This one, which one is this one? I think this is kind of like a family second chance-ish type of book. This is about family, it's about love, it's age gap, and he is younger than her, and it's about acceptance, and I'm so super excited to read this one. If you already read it, please tell me what you rated it, because I do need to know. This one is so high up on my list of books I want to read, like right now. But I'm in the middle of a book, so I can't do that. Last one on the list is Magnolia Parks. Yes, I know I'm late to this series. Do I care? No. Did I also go around to find this cover and not the newer cover? Yes, I did. What about it? Okay, I like these ones better than the newer ones. And the bookstore I found it at, I talked to the lady that sells them, and she's told me they will always get these covers and they will always have them in store because well, first of all, they still sell pretty good, and she also really likes the covers because they're pretty, and that has a lot to say. This is about Magnolia Park, that's her name, and it's about BJ and their relationship and everything around it. It says, basically on the back it says, she is a beautiful, self-involved and mildly neurotic London socialite. He is Britain's most a photographer bad boy who broke her heart, but Magnolia Parks and BJ Ballantyne are meant to be, aren't they? And people compare it to Gossip Girl, so what's not to like? Except I tried reading the Gossip Girl books, I didn't like them, but I think that's because I really like the series, because I tried reading them after I watched the series. But yeah, this is high up on my list. I know a lot of people rave about this, so I'm super excited to read it. Super excited to read it. I think if I had to pick right now, these 2 are the books I'm most excited to read. That was all I had. I made a mess. Oh crap, I have 10 books on my TBR. I'm gonna start with these ones. But yeah, if there's any books you think that I missed, please tell me about them. And if, there's one book you really would like to see a reading vlog on, spoiler or spoiler free, please tell me and I will do my best to do so, because I'm here, I aim to please. Always. Thank you guys so much for spending some of your precious time with me. I really do appreciate it. Please tell me what you guys are planning to read in October. What was your favorite read of September? I would love to know. And I will catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.